The prison service in the UK, like many others worldwide, is fundamentally flawed, and at its core, the purpose of incarceration is meant to be twofold: rehabilitation and justice. And given the fact that, what's her name was on the £5 note for so long, I find it extraordinary that people have forgotten about rehabilitation and about prison reform. But when a system fails to ensure the basic safety and the humane treatment of those it confines, it cannot claim to serve either purpose, either rehabilitation or justice. Instead, it becomes a theatre of cruelty, where individuals are subject to conditions that degrade rather than rehabilitate. The case of Julian Assange, of Tommy Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, currently serving the 18-month sentence at His Majesty's Prison, HMP Woodhill, exemplifies these systemic failures. But he's not alone. A gay dewlap was a person who I was horrified by her treatment over Christmas. And of course Assange. They've faced conditions that highlight a broader institutional malaise. When a state cannot ensure the safety of its prisoners, it shouldn't respond by advocating for longer or harsher sentences, simply because it's a convenience. The failure of the system should never be used as justification for further injustice. Malkinson, when people knew, and the system knew, that he was innocent, they still kept him incarcerated for so long. Why? Because he wouldn't admit that he'd done something that he hadn't done. Tommy Robinson has been placed in solitary confinement because of credible threats against his life. I fully understand that. Intelligence reports suggest that a lifer has placed a mark on his head, and that other inmates have attempted to attack him for the notoriety that he would bring. And his isolation is not the product of disciplinary action, but rather the act of protective custody, a tacit admission by the Ministry of Justice that they cannot control the very institutions that they attempt to govern. So the inadequacy of His Majesty's prisons is now justifying the harsher treatment of prisoners. And why is he put in a Category B prison when he should be in an open prison? The response has been predictable. The Ministry of Justice has argued that Robinson's segregation is substantially more permissive than standard regimes, allowing him access to a laptop, daily exercise, extensive social calls. Yet these concessions do not change the underlying truth that the prison system is unable to safely integrate him into the general population. If the state can neither protect its prisoners nor safely detain them, then it's not a reflection on Robinson, it's an indictment of the system itself. And this, I think, should lead to the resignation of the minister in charge of prisons. This isn't merely about Robinson, nor about his political leanings, which have made him a divisive figure. I don't for 1 minute endorse Robinson's political posturing at all. But again and again, I've looked at the way he's treated, and again, I think he's been treated badly by the state and the system. And I've called this out again and again. I'm not a Tommy Robinson fan, but I'm not a fan of unfairness and cruelty and the severity, the tyranny of the system. The implications of a prison system that relies on segregation as a substitute for security extend beyond his case. Julian Assange, a figure of international controversy, suffered similarly under a punitive regime that left him almost incapacitated, that extends far beyond the length of his imprisonment. And it's about compliance. And you keep somebody in solitary confinement for so long and they become compliant. I know. It only took a month in my case. I was on a TV show. I was kept in solitary confinement, effectively. I was being given orders all the time. And I didn't mind it. I thought, I'm doing this for art, for entertainment. But it took me years to recover. And that was just a month. So my heart goes out to these people. If prisons cannot guarantee basic safety, basic dignity, or the rights of those incarcerated, the argument for lengthier or harsher sentences collapses entirely. And, we've got Farage boasting about how how glad he is to have been a reality TV star, hammering back at Kemi Badenoch in the Daily Telegraph today, I think. And yet he doesn't stop to think that reality TV is reproducing the same sort of horrors that are being inflicted on Tommy Robinson. He should be standing up and saying, this is wrong. What is happening to Robinson is wrong. But he's too terrified that it might look as if he's pandering to Robinson's political views, because he can't distance himself from the views. He needs to man up and grow up, does Farage. And if he needs a chat, I'm very happy to have a chat with Farage. He should be standing up for the people who have suffered so much from reality TV, if he's so proud of having been part of it. But of course, he got special treatment. Prisons should not be places where survival depends on social standing, gang affiliation, or the political views of the incarcerated. They should be institutions where safety is guaranteed and presumed, where rehabilitation is more than a theoretical concept, and where justice is not arbitrarily dispensed based on an individual's notoriety. Tommy Robinson will leave HMP Woodhill on the 26th of July, and Julian Assange's fate remains uncertain, frankly. Gay Dulap's case is a reminder of the system's indifference towards vulnerable elderly patients and prisoners. But the question remains, how many more will suffer under a justice system that conflates incarceration with cruelty? How many more will be denied the basic rights and the protections that should be afforded to every human being, regardless of their crimes? If the prison service cannot guarantee the safety of those within its walls, it's not the inmates who need harsher sentences, it's the system that needs to be overhauled. True justice is not about making examples of individuals, nor is it about proving political points. It's about ensuring that those who enter the system, for whatever reason, are treated with the fundamental dignity that should be the bedrock of any civilized society, and ideally, they come out of prison better than they were when they went in. Until we address these failures in the British prison system, we are not upholding justice. We are making a mockery of justice. We are merely perpetuating the cycle of institutional abuse, and it has to stop.